Perfect. Thank you very much for joining me. Yes, my name is Sean, and you are watching MLS Ireland does predictions for week 21, 20. It's excellent. Thank you very much. Yes, my name is Sean, and if you're new to this, hit that subscribe button. It would mean a lot to me. I'm at 250, so happy days. I'm a bit surprised that I actually got this far. I'm a bit surprised I'm still doing this, to be fair. But I enjoy it. People seem to enjoy it. So if you're, like I said, let me know what else. Anything kind of cool, anything kind of new that you probably want to see on this, let me know in the comments below and all that kind of jazz. And thank you very much for subscribing if you have. And if you're just watching this, hey, thank you very much for stopping by. So, yep, these are my predictions. I did ones on Twitch, actually seemed to go down very well. So, yeah, I'm actually, if you're new to this, anyway, I'll be doing my weekday games kind of on Twitch. So, kind of just spice it up a wee bit. But anyway, I digress. Because it is a new weekend just after games being played yesterday to me. There was games on last night, was there? There was games on. There's always games on. So the first game is going to be Montreal against Toronto. Montreal, who are playing a lot better than Toronto, because Toronto haven't won a game at home, away from home. So that's not great. Their last win was against Atlanta, and that was a 2-1 win. And they're coming up against a very good Montreal team, who are surprising of quite a few. Granted, they have lost their last two against LA Galaxy and Sporting Kansas City, but again, you're coming up against a Toronto team who haven't been great. Granted, they have Insigne probably be on the bench for this, unless he's injured. But I haven't really seen much information about will he be starting or if he's available, basically. So, I'm kind of going off my own wee kind of knowledge that it could possibly be either on the bench or he's bound to be involved somehow. But I haven't even seen photos of him training yet, so that's probably looking very unlikely. But anyway, against the Montreal team, who are probably better than Toronto, so I'm going to go for like a 2-1 win to Montreal. Montreal are a far better team, playing far better football. Toronto are just father and son operation, doesn't seem to be working. So yeah, I'm going to go for 2-1. The next one is Philadelphia against New England Revolution. Revolution started playing very well till they got beaten last week against New York City FC. That was like a 4-2 win. It was actually a very good game. New York City, probably the better team. New England kind of didn't look great at the back, and they're coming up against a reinsurance. You know what I mean? Up and coming. They're getting better again, in form. Philadelphia. They're coming against a good, very Philadelphia team who beat DC United and Inter Miami. Two teams. Well, they beat DC United quite comfortably, like 1-2-7 goals to 0, and they beat Inter Miami, which I kind of thought it would have been a bit more tighter, like a draw or some sort. But Philadelphia are a good team. They come up against a New England team who they've already faced this season. When was that? I believe they faced each other already this season. I should have probably researched all this before I did the list. Anyway, I can't see one. I think it was New York City I was thinking of. But yeah, Philadelphia, a very good team. They're probably starting to come into the game a wee bit better again. Actually, getting beat by Chicago and drawing against Columbus Crew wasn't great for them, but I think they're starting to find their feet against the New England Revolution team. A 2-0 win. I can go with a 2-0 win. I think it's within them to really win that game. My hair seems to be a bit of a mess here at the moment. So yeah, I'm going for like a 2-0 win to Philadelphia. They're a better team, really. I'm just going to go with that. Sorry, here's a mess. So yeah, I'm going to go for like a 2-0. The next one is Chicago Fire against Seattle Sounders. Seattle Sounders, I started to think, right, they're going to come back into it. They're going to start playing very well. They did, kind of. Then they got beaten the last 3 out of 4, getting beat by Montreal, beating Toronto, but getting beat by Portland, which was a big one, and then getting beat by Nashville away from home. So again, they're coming up against not a similar team, because Chicago Fire are 25th and 24th for a reason. They beat Toronto, which is a pretty good result. Toronto not being great at the moment. They got beaten by Columbus Crew, who started to show a wee bit. They got beaten by San Jose Earthquakes, who beaten LA Galaxy, which was a bit of a surprise. So they're coming up against a Seattle Sounders team who don't look as good as they used to, if that makes any sense. Usually this is the kind of game where you think, this is going to be a game where this kind of suits them. So I don't know. I might go for a 2-1 win to Seattle. They're they are a far better team than Chicago. I know this is a game where they probably could surprise them. I know Chicago Fire surprised quite a few there over the week. So against Toronto, but again that was Toronto. So yeah, I'm going to go for like a 2-1 win to Seattle. The next one is Inter against Charlotte. Now Inter, who have Pasueto now basically in their ranks, a bit better. Granted, their last few games they kind of slept up because they were starting to play a bit better. Then they got beaten by Atlanta again. As I always say, they went down to 10 men very quickly. Beaten Minnesota, okay, very good. Drew Dallas, got beaten by Orlando, and then beaten by Philadelphia. Two teams, like I said, Orlando, it was basically a Florida derby thing, and then Philadelphia is Philadelphia, who are a very good team. Coming up against the Charlotte team, who I think won the one game. Their last away game was their only away game that they won. So, pardon me. So yeah, that was actually not a bad game. That was against Nashville, and that was a 4-1 win. Sorry, they beat Houston 2-1 away from home. So they're kind of coming into this a bit better form than Inter. I'll go for like a 1-1 draw, because I do think these two teams are matched, if that makes any sense. I know Charlotte away from home, they've only won the one game. Granted, that was last week or 2 weeks ago on the 4th of July. So a 2-1 win against Houston is kind of similar to Inter. I think they're two kind of similar teams. So I'm going to go for like a 1-1. And that one, the next one is Minnesota against DC United. Now, DC United have Wayne Rooney possibly getting his team a bit into the rhythm of things. They drew against Columbus Crew, scored the last 5 minutes or last 3 minutes or so. So which is going to give them a wee bit more. Let's go. They're coming up against a Minnesota team who drew their last game against Sporting Kansas City, which isn't a great result, but beat Vancouver and beat Real Salt Lake and beat LA Galaxy prior to that. So they're coming into this one as well with a bit of form. Well, they're coming into a bit of form, whereas DC United coming in with a bit of hope. This is MLS. Hope usually wins, which is surprising. Do you know what? I'm going to go for a DC United win 2-1. Minnesota are a good team, but they are very sporadic. Their goal difference is +2, whereas granted DC United is -14. So not great, but I think this is going to be a DC United win because they have hope. And hope is all we all really want, really, to be fair, at the end of the day. The next one is Colorado against LA Galaxy. And if you're noticing, I'm just putting these in on the fly because they seemed to work last week. Because I usually try to do better research, never really works, and then half the things they mess up for me. So I'm just going to do these off the fly because Colorado Rapids are all over the shop. They started off the season very good because I do remember them being up near the top, and then in the last 6 they haven't won a game. They drew against Orlando, drew against Real Salt Lake, got beaten by Austin. Okay, not too bad. Got beaten by Portland. Drew against New York City and then got beat by Nashville. So you can kind of see like a rhythm here coming. They're beating teams that they shouldn't be. They're doing again a good result against teams they shouldn't be, and they're getting beaten by teams they shouldn't be getting beat by. And now they're coming up against an LA Galaxy team who lost LAFC and lost the San Jose Earthquakes. Not a very good result for them because that's to their local, their rivals. Forced rivals. So yeah, coming up against an LA Galaxy team who are still have no identity, if that makes any sense. I think they don't really know what they're to be doing at the moment, so that's kind of sad to see. But I'm going to go for like a 2-2. I'll go for like a 2-2. I think LA Galaxy are capable of scoring 2 goals. They have scored 2 goals in their last 2 games. Granted, they got beaten by 3. So yeah, I'm gonna go for like a 2-2. Colorado, good team, but this is probably where a game they shouldn't. You know my thinking. You know my thinking by now. The next one is Dallas against Austin. So this is another Texas Derby. Texas Derbies. Austin, who is top. Dallas, who are 10th. Dallas is probably one of the worst formed teams now in the league because they haven't won a game 2 as well in their last 6. They got beaten by New York City, not great. They drew with the Houston 2-2. Got beaten by LAFC and all that kind of stuff. So the last time these two teams played, Austin at home drew against Dallas 2-2, and that was on the 26th of June. That was not that long ago. About 20 days or so. 21. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. Austin probably coming into this one again a bit more form because their last game that they dropped points basically in the last 6 was against Dallas. So Dallas are a good team. They are at home, but it is an interesting one. I like Dallas, but Dallas has been playing quite poorly at the moment. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Austin. I'm going to go for like a 2-0 win to Austin. I think this is probably a game where they're going to figure out their weaknesses from the last time and get that win over the line. Yeah, the next one is another forced rivalry in MLS. Is Atlanta against Orlando. I know these two teams don't really like each other, but they've been trading players back and forward, so it kind of makes it pointless. But anyway, Atlanta at home, starting to show a bit of form, a bit of promise. They won their last game against Real Salt Lake 2-1. It was not a bad game. Granted, they got beaten by Austin prior to that, so not great at home. So they're coming up against the Orlando team who beat LA's Inter Miami 1-0, but drew with Colorado Rapids away from home. Atlanta, I do like coming into this game. They always do seem to pick it up, whereas Orlando don't really have that big time player to really get them over the line. I know they beat Inter Miami, but Inter Miami are starting to kind of go down the hill again a bit. So I'm going to go for like a 2-1 win to Atlanta. I know there's a lot of 2-1s in this, but 2-1s happen a lot in here. But I'm going to go for like a 2-0 win. 2-1 win, sorry. I'll go for a 2-1 win to Atlanta. Again, Orlando are a good team, but this is probably one where the Atlanta fans are probably going to try and push Atlanta over the line and get that all-inclusive win. The next one, obviously, is a Hudson River Derby, where New York Red Bulls play against the homeless New York City FC. It's an interesting one. New York City last year always did, or at the start of the season did, or was it last year? I can't remember. It's been a long time. Always done well in Red Bull Arena, and New York Red Bulls were doing very bad in New York and Red Bull Arena, but were doing very well in NYCFC's stadium, so the baseball one. So this is an interesting one. I know New York Red Bulls are doing very well. They're 2 points behind New York City in the overall standings. New York Red Bulls are probably, they've lost 2 of the last 6. That was against Charlotte and LAFC. Again, Charlotte at home are a very good team, but New York Red Bull was at the start of the season were doing very well away from home, but losing at home, and then they're beaten by LAFC, who probably are the best team in the league, and they've just got bailed and all kind of jazz. So Atlanta against New York Red Bulls against New York City. I think New York City Red Bulls are probably. I'm going for like a 3-1 win to New York Red Bulls. I think they fancy themselves in this game. They're good at home. They're starting to get good at home. They're starting to score goals. I knew New York started to score goals, but I can't say that they've been beating big teams. They beat Dallas and beat New York and New England. Games that they should probably win, and all things considering, because New England are not doing very, very well at the moment, and Dallas are doing terribly at the moment. So yeah, I'm looking for like a 3-1 win. The Columbus Crew is next. Columbus Crew. Sounded like saying Tony Cruz. Columbus Crew, who haven't lost a game in the last 6, so that's promising, but they've only won the 2, and that was against Chicago Fire and Toronto. Not very entirely great. Whereas Cincinnati, who are doing very well, they haven't lost a game either in the last 6. only winning the one against Orlando. But they drew against Vancouver, drew against New York Red Bulls, drew against New England, New York City, and Philadelphia. So good results at teams who are very good. I'm going to go for like a 1-0 win to Cincinnati. They are probably a better team. I know Columbus Crew, this could probably end in a draw, to be fair. Columbus Crew are a very good team coming into this thing. They're not losing. There's two teams that are not really conceding that much at the moment, so I'm going to go for a 1-0 win to Cincinnati on that one. The next one is poor old Nashville coming up against LAFC. LAFC top for a reason. Their only reason why, they're second. They're a game behind Austin, but a point behind as well. So, granted, they have lost one game and all that, and that was against Vancouver, which is very surprising. But again, coming into Nashville, into their lovely stadium, Nashville are 6th. So the weird thing about this, it's from 17th till 6th, there's 4 points of difference. So this table is bouncing all over the place. And the way MLS is, the teams do, it's, yeah. I'm going to go for like a 2-0 win to LAFC. They are at home. They are a very good team. They're coming into Nashville, who are not a bad team, but I think LAFC are going to start bringing in their big guns. I think Caroline is going to start playing, and I think Bale should start. So yeah, I'm going to go for like a 2-0 win in that one. The next one is Real Salt Lake against Sporting Kansas City. Sporting Kansas City started to do a wee bit okay, lost a few games, and then beat Montreal, which is a good result, and drew against Minnesota. And now this is going to be against a Real Salt Lake team, who I believe drew 2-all. Or they got beaten by LAFC. Sorry, they drew 2-all last week. They got beaten by Atlanta 2 days ago. So Real Salt Lake coming into this. Yeah, Sporting Kansas City are actually not too bad away from home. And this is probably a game where they can probably get a good result. I may go for like a 1-all. I think a 1-all is kind of probably fair in this, and to be fair in this one. Two teams are probably well matched. Sporting Kansas City not doing very well, but are doing very well away from home. So yeah, I'm going to go for like a 1-all on that one. And the second last one, geez, there's a lot of games. 14. Like people who are doing Premier League games don't even do 14, they do 10. Jesus Christ. Anyway, San Jose Earthquakes against Houston. San Jose, who beaten LA Galaxy last week, and then moved the whole way up to 22nd. In the last 4, they've only lost the one. That was against Real Salt Lake. Beaten Chicago Fire. Okay, you would expect that. Drew against Toronto. In Toronto, not too bad. And then they beaten LA Galaxy in LA, so not too bad. They're at home against the Houston Dynamo team, who haven't won a game in the last 4. Their last away game was against Austin. That was a loss 3-1. And the last one before that was a 2-1 win. 2-1 loss, against Portland. So, San Jose Earthquakes. I'm going to go for like a 2-0 win to San Jose Earthquakes, because they are starting to get their head in the game, basically. So, yeah, I'm going to go for like a 2-0 win to San Jose and Houston. Sorry. I do apologize. And the last one is Portland against Vancouver. So, an all Cascadia Derby Conference Championship something. So yeah, Portland, who are starting now to show a bit of style, basically. Beaten Colorado, beaten Houston, draw against Nashville, and beaten Seattle 3-0, which I believe is a surprise to Portland, really. They're coming up against a Vancouver team who I started to believe they were doing very well, so they got beaten by Minnesota and drew against Cincinnati, because they beat LAFC and they were doing very well. They beat Dallas, they drew against New England, so they weren't doing too bad. But they're coming up against the Portland Timbers team, who are looking a lot better. They're starting to know how to play among each other, so that's basically what I'm trying to say, and they are capable of winning a good game in this one. So I'll go for an easy 2-1 win to Portland. They are a good team. Vancouver are a very good team, but I think because Portland are a better, this is MLS, you can't really go by form, but I'm going anyway. So yeah, those were my predictions. I hope you enjoyed them. And if you are still watching this further, thank you very much, and hit that subscribe button, please. Thank you. Bye now.